At a time in their lives when they're supposed to be nurtured and protected, children in Pakistan are living in prison with their parents. This is because the government allows mothers to keep their children with them in jail up to a certain age. This presentation is going to propose that a new policy must be made to address this issue, which prohibits children from staying in jail after they've passed the age of being breastfed. Issue is mainly the result of Pakistan prison rules, which allow children to stay with their mothers in jail from infancy to 6 years of age. However, most women are reported to keep their children for more than 6 years. There are several reasons for recommending such a policy. First, it is necessary because allowing children to stay in prisons drastically reduces their welfare. Secondly, such a policy is vital to prevent overburdening of an already crippled prison system. And third, imprisoning children for a crime they have not done unjustly takes away their right of liberty. Motherhood has always been a sensitive topic since the welfare of the mother is almost always associated with the welfare of the child. However, we must think differently in this case. The welfare of the child cannot be associated with the welfare of the mother because the mother has drastically reduced her own welfare through her own fault and the child should not suffer for it. With the exception of few prisons, hardly any prison in Pakistan has a school for children. Given that most children start their schooling before 4 years of age and a lot of mothers keep their children well beyond the 6-year mark, the lack of schooling can cause a significant delay in the intellectual development of kids. There is a lack of hygiene and healthy living conditions as well, since corruption and inefficiency mean that prisons are largely neglected. For example, in one province, out of a total of 1,000 million rupees allotted for the rehabilitation of prisons, only 300 million was used for the actual purpose. Children may also be the victims of child abuse in prisons, especially since they live with convicts and fugitives. In Pakistan, more than the risk of abuse by the inmates is the risk of abuse by police guards who regularly torture, abuse, and rape the inmates. This leads to a case where the child is psychologically and physically hurt at a crucial point in his or her life, as the Minister for Human Rights in Pakistan testifies.
Because we think that it is not appropriate for the psychological, mental development of a kid to be brought in, to be taken care of within the jail premises, because it has long psychological, social impact of a child.
Secondly, keeping children in jail increases the burden on an already ineffective prison system. Pakistan's prisons are already well over their capacities. Currently, the prisons hold over 80,000 prisoners, whereas they can only hold 35,000. This overcrowding is not only bad for the children, but it also reduces the state's capacity to keep the real criminals behind the bars. Lastly, it is ethically wrong and unjust to imprison a child, especially in his formative years, for a crime that he or she has not committed. These children can learn much more valuable lessons outside a prison environment than inside it, and denying them that right is unfair to them. However, it is also important to understand why a mother would want to bring her child to jail. The following female prisoners explain some common concerns.
Zehar Bibi says her boys would rather be free, but there was no one else to take care of them.
It's not good only because it's a prison. Children want to roam around. They want to go to parks. They want to study outside.
Often, imprisoned mothers do not trust the child protection programs offered by the state. Muskan, age 7, has been here 2.5 years. Yasmin Bibi, her mother, convicted of kidnapping, says Muskan is better off with her in jail.
We are not able to keep ourselves as safe in the environment outside as we are in here.
Most of these claims made by the mothers sound reasonable, but then who is wrong? Is it the authority that has created a corrupt and dysfunctional prison system? The authority that constantly embezzles taxpayers' money allotted to the restructuring of prisons? The authority that refuses to design child protection schemes and instead finds an easy solution in allowing children to stay in prisons as well? The government needs to accept responsibility for their job by designing child protection programs, finding guardians for children when their imprisoned mothers cannot, eliminating corruption, which seems to be a key factor in the rundown state of Pakistan's prisons, and finally, having done all of that, implementing and strictly enforcing a law that prohibits children from staying in jail after they are not being breastfed. The distinction for the breastfeeding period is important since it has scientifically been proven to protect the child against numerous diseases during their childhood. This will result in educated, stable, and independent children who will ultimately become better citizens in the future.